you know, my name is Jen Ellington. I'm the campus director here at Lowe's Grove. I'm so excited that you guys are here. This is our very first official family event for the spring semester, and we're calling it College Night because we really want to share with you all, what is it like to be a parent and preparing your students for college? Students, what is it like to be a college student? And you're actually going to get to hear from some real college students about, what is life like there? What are you learning? What are you doing on campus? So we thank you so much for taking the time to come. A little bit about tonight's format. So in a few seconds, what we're going to do is all of the parents, I'm going to ask you to stay in this room, this cafeteria, and we have Dr. Sethna here who is going to speak a little bit about the financial aid process, as well as, as a parent, what do you need to think about now that your student is in middle school and preparing for high school and then eventually college. Students, you guys are going to follow Ms. Johnson and Ms. Kilgore and Ms. Vance, and you're going to go into a separate room with our college panelists, and they're going to get some questions that we've already prepared for them, and then you'll get to ask them questions that you're curious about. What is it like to be at NC Central? What is it like to be a student at Duke? And really ask them some personal questions. At, I would say, 6:45 or so, we're all going to come back in here, and then I'm going to call it open networking. So parents, you're going to be with Dr. Sethna, and you're not really going to get to talk to the college students. But when we come back in here for open networking, feel free to come up to any of our college students. We'll have their information on a placard, so you can see, oh, this is Crystal, she goes to Early College High School, or this is, Anosh, and he goes to Duke, and be able to ask them questions, as well as come up and ask Dr. Sethna any personal, individual questions that you might have. And then that's a pretty quick night, because we'll end at 7 o'clock, okay? So let me introduce all of our guest speakers and panelists very quickly, and then we'll get started. So, please stand, please. This is Dr. Manjari Sethna. A little bit about her. She's actually a parent who had students that came through Lowe's Grove years ago. So she's a parent of Lowe's Grove. Her passion is now in college consulting. So she's getting a degree in that. And she's just really passionate in talking to both students as well as parents about, what does that college process look like. So we thank you for being here. For our college students, first we have Tyrone Jones. He is a student at Durham Technical Community College here in the Durham area. And then we have Miss Courtney Hill. She is currently a student at North Carolina Central University. She actually spent her last 3 years at UNC Charlotte. UNC Greensboro, sorry, UNC Greensboro. So she has 2 college experiences that she can talk about. Next to her, we have Mr. Anosh Sethna, who is one of the students that I assume came through Lowe's Grove, and he's currently a student at Duke University. And then we have Miss Crystal Gordon. She's very unique. She was a citizen school student 2 years ago as an 8th grade and came through our HEA program, also a student here at Lowe's Grove. She's currently at Early College High School, so one of the high school choices that are available in Durham. And because she's a junior, she's also taking college-level courses because that's the early college high school process. So she's a high school student, but she's taking college-level courses. So she's also in a really unique position. So we're really glad to have them here. So without further ado, let's get started. Students, if you will follow Ms. Johnson and our lovely college panelists, if you will follow them, they'll head out and go to a separate room to do the panel. Oh, yeah. Than for us having to yell and present at you guys. So, well, yes. So like I said before, this is Dr. Sethna. She actually previously had a different life in research at UNC Chapel Hill. Discovered her passion. Discovered her passion for college and really helping students and, like I said, parents think through that process. So I've invited her here to speak, and
Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me here, and it's really a special place for me. As Jen said, my son went to school here. He graduated from Lowe's Grove in 2006, and this school is really close to my heart. And I was very involved in the school activities and realized the challenges that we all face as we have our students in middle school, and then we want them to get a good education and have them develop very nicely as individuals and have the qualities and values that we care about. And I found myself struggling. I found myself struggling to find those spots where I could go for information, where I could have conversations, and that was part of why I got interested into doing this. And so I was, happily doing my science at Carolina, and then this one jumped out at me, and I felt a true calling to say, you need to do this. You have to do this because you know what it is like to be there and have those issues. So I'm right now getting a certificate in college counseling through UCLA, and it's been a wonderful experience for me, changing some gears and learning a lot through the formal educational program. But I was a guidance office volunteer at Jordan High School for about 7 or 8 years, where I helped them do their scholarship information. So we would get scholarship information from different sources and match it with different students that we knew were capable of, were very good at getting those, applying for those scholarships. So that's where I spent my 7 to 8 years volunteering and looking at more closely as to the process of college admission, what are their choices and finances. So today's presentation is it's one that I'm a member of a professional organization called National Association for College Admission Counseling, and it has plenty of resources. It's a very good website that offers students and parents a lot of resources for very diverse things, such as what classes to choose, what are my options for doing science and all of that. So it's a very good site, and they have created presentations for us to go into the school and use them to deliver our message. So I'm very thankful for that support, and that there was already a presentation that I could modify and apply to what I wanted to do. And so it really talks about how it's not just the family or the school, it's all of us together. It's the family, it's the counselors at school, the community, it's all of us together. It's sort of that it takes a village to raise a child, that kind of a concept. So we are together in this, and that's what we need to realize. So my first part of my presentation is going to be more towards finances and how to pay for college, what to know right now, so that you're well prepared when your child is a senior in high school and you're wondering how you're going to pay for their education. So I'm going to spend a lot of time probably on that, and then I have another part where I want to give you some thoughts about what can you do now to make sure that your child has a good foundation for what that college experience is all about. And I'm hoping that I'm able to do both as much as I want to, but I think I'm going to be focusing more on finances, and hopefully we'll have some time to do the other part. So when you look at colleges, how many of you know what the college cost includes, and then what is the cost, right? So we say, how much does the college cost, and what is included in the total cost? So I'm going to give you some idea about that. Then we're going to go to different forms of financial aid that the colleges offer you, and what's the difference between the grants, the scholarship, the loans, and work study, all these terms, what do they mean to the families, and then how does the student receive financial aid? What's the process? And it will be a brief overview. I won't go into details, but if you would like, we can have conversations later to talk about the details of that process. So some statistics out there, more than half the students attending colleges in the United States receive some form of financial assistance. It's almost 2/3. So somewhere between half and 2/3, they do receive that. So there is money there that students can receive, but it just doesn't come to them by them wishing that, right? There is a process. So In terms of cost, the cost is divided into direct and indirect. Okay? The direct cost includes tuition and fees, and then room and board if the student lives on campus. That's included in the direct. It's billed to the family through the bursar's office, and it's direct. The indirect cost is books and supplies that you spend out of your pocket when your student buys books on Amazon or at the bookstore. Room and board, if the student lives off campus, it becomes your responsibility to pay the rent, or if they're sharing with someone. And then personal expenses and any other travel that they might have from home to college, and any other, or if they have a car on campus, gas, all of that is indirect, right? So there is a direct cost that comes through bursar's office, and then there is the indirect cost that comes to you from your own pocket, that you need to have that cash. So again, these costs show up on the bill on the left, and those costs do not show up on the bill. Okay, so that's the total cost of college. These are the expenses that will be there when your child goes to college. So how does college determine what they can give you as financial aid or support? Like we saw, almost 2/3 of students get something. And how do they get that? How does one decide? There are thousands of students, thousands of different financial situations, families, situations. It varies so much. But there is a way. Federal government has given us a way to do that. Okay? So the cost of education that we just talked about, direct and indirect, is all combined. Okay? Let's say, for example, it's about 20,000. That is what Chapel Hill, UNC Chapel Hill, is about today. Not to the dollar, but about 20,000. Okay? Now, there is this EFC. You'll hear that name, that acronym again and again and again. What does that mean? It is expected family contribution, which means that family and the student, okay, mainly the family, is the parents and the students' financial resources that a college expects that they will contribute towards their education. Right? So the cost is 20,000. You're expected to provide, let's say, 8,000, and we'll come to how EFC is decided in a few minutes. Okay? But for now, bear in mind, EFC is your part that the family has to come up with. So let's say your EFC number is 8,000. All right? So then your financial need is about 12,000. It's the difference between those two numbers is financial need. Okay? Every college, every single college will need your EFC to figure out what your financial need is. Okay? So having that number is crucial to your student getting financial aid. Okay? How that number is figured out is where I'm going to go next. But the financial need is defined by this formula. It cannot change from one college to the other. It remains the same across the board, no matter if you go to UNC Chapel Hill, or Duke, or NC Central, or Durham Tech. The financial need remains the same. Okay, so how does one come with that number for EFC? So it is influenced by these factors, right? EFC is influenced by several different factors. And one of the things, of course, it depends on the parent's income and assets. So that's a major player on deciding the need. Higher the income, the lower your EFC. Lower the income, higher your EFC. Okay? I'm sorry, the other way around. Higher the income, your EFC is high as well. Your income is low, your EFC is low as well. I'm sorry for that. Okay, and also there's a part that the student needs to contribute from their summer jobs or any other jobs that they may have had. Usually that is kind of fixed around like 1,000, 1,500. It doesn't change much. So usually that's where the student contribution is fixed at, okay? And then any gifts, grandparents, other family members that may be interested in helping you out, or gifts, those are a big part of that influences. If you have gifts, that's going to affect your EFC, all right? And then, of course, there are other players that are like family size, 4 versus 6, 3, you know. And then the age of the oldest parent, that's the other one. Because as the age of the older parent is higher, they count more of the family's resources towards retirement. So it impacts, because if the parents are close to retirement, it is going to help you kind of get a bit more financial aid, because now you're closer to, they don't expect you to go into your retirement money to pay for your child's education. So they have built that into the formula. And then, of course, number of children currently attending colleges. So if you have 2 kids in college at the same time, it is going to help you tremendously with your financial need, okay? Because it divides your EFC into 2 kids instead of just 1, okay? So the EFC number gets distributed between 2 children rather than just 1, okay? So that is again a factor that helps. How is that magic number decided? Free application for Federal Student Aid, or FAFSA. How many of you have heard that or filled that out form or known about that? But if you have not, then that is the one to know. If at all I want you to take anything from today's presentation, is that fill the FAFSA come January 1st of your child's senior year. Do not wait. It goes online on January 1st, and that is the key to finding the EFC, because that's the form that generates the EFC number. Okay? You have to put in your tax information, but if you, of course nobody has their taxes done first week in January, so you're allowed to estimate. You're allowed to put the estimated numbers in there based on your previous year taxes or what you know that might have changed for the next year. But then when you complete your taxes, you have to go back and correct that information or import that information from the IRS into the FAFSA, and that can be done automatically through the form that's now online, okay? So that is the key, because that form, by taking into account all the factors that we decided in my previous slide, will generate the EFC based on all the information that you have put into that form, okay? Then there is the other form called CSS Profile. Now, when you look at a college or a university, I'm just going to use, like, let's say Duke and Carolina for an example, because they have such great rivalry. Like, it's nice to be able to, play on that a little bit. So, if you look at Carolina, right, it's a public school. It's funded by our North Carolina taxpayers' money, right? And so it has federal funds that it can give out for financial aid. Whereas if you look at Duke, it has, federal government also gives money to private schools to help families pay bill for the college. But they also have a lot of alums or donors who have given endowments and big money. That is their institutional money, okay? Fortunately for Carolina, they have that too. Okay, most public schools don't have the luxury of has to go Carolina. They are well supported, they are well funded, and so they have the institutional money too. But you will not find that in many public schools, that they have the institutional money that they can give out for financial aid. But both these schools have that. So the CSS Profile form is a little different from FAFSA. It asks some more information which FAFSA doesn't. For example, FAFSA does not ask you your price of your home equity, but Profile will ask you for those assets. Okay? So there are some differences between the two forms. CSS Profile asks much more detailed information about your assets, and it asks information for 3 years, the one prior, the current, and then one coming up. So it asks for more information, but that's a good thing, because they're trying to figure out what they can do for you. It's not because they are looking at your finances like closely and saying, oh, what kind of assets does this person have? No. In fact, it's a thing for them to figure out how they can best support you and give you the institutional money for supporting the financially. So a college that has both a private money or institutional money and federal funds can combine those funds to give you the best financial aid package if they want your students to come to their university, and that's where your student needs to do the work, show, and everything. And there are many different ways of looking at that. It's not that everybody has to be a rocket scientist or an A student. It's not like that. It's every average student, they want everybody to have a chance at going to college. And so you cannot know this by looking, or by me telling you which forms, which one needs. FAFSA is all across the board. Everybody will want you to fill up FAFSA. But the CSS profile is more specific to the universities. So when your child is, you know which schools he or she is applying to, you would have to go to their financial aid website and look there whether they need profile or not. And then you know, depending upon whether those schools require the second form, you can go ahead and fill that second form. But FAFSA is across the board. Everybody wants you to fill out FAFSA because, as I said, it's the EFC number that it gives that is so important. All right, so now you know you have the total cost, 20,000. Maybe the EFC is 8,000, and it's the 12,000 that the college needs to give you to support your student, right? Now, how do they decide what are they going to do? There are ways that each college does that a little bit different, but for most part, most colleges will give you a financial aid package. Let's say that 12,000, right? Some of it will be loan, yes. Some of it will be grants and scholarship, and some of it will be work study. It's a package that has little bit of everything. Not everybody just gets scholarship, not everybody just gets loan. Everybody gets a little bit of everything, okay? So that it's spread more evenly and it's spread more nicely so that they can feel good about it. For example, since my son goes to Duke, Duke will cap the student loan at $5,000 every year. No more than 5,000. So if it was 8,000, they would give you 5,000 in loan, but that again depends on your exact situation, right? It's not like generally like yes they will, but they won't give you any more loans than 5,000. So for example, they could have, it changes. 8,000 for me and 8,000 for someone else is very different, right? For an average 8,000, they'll say, okay, 2,000 loans, but we are not going to go beyond 5,000. For someone else, they might say, okay, 3,000 loans, and it also, there is a lot of factors that go into deciding how much loan and how much scholarship and work study. But in general, this is what happens, and a loan component can be big or small depending upon how they look at maybe the CSS profile data and have more information about home equity and the price of your home and things of that nature. I want to take a slight break. Is there anything that at this point, or I can keep going? Okay. All right. So then we come to grants. What kind of grants do we have? The first two, Federal Pell Grant and Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grants, are the two biggest federally funded programs that help families with exceptional needs afford college. Okay? So the first one, the Federal Pell Grant, is usually between, at the lowest it's about 500, at the highest it's about 5,000. That's the money that the student doesn't have to pay back. It's a grant from the federal government. It's your money to use for tuition and fees and everything, and you don't have to pay it back. Okay? The next, so that's a good program, but the next one is even more so. If you have qualified for Pell Grant, you will get a priority for the second grant, and that grant is somewhere between, at the minimum, at least $100, at the maximum about $4,000, right? So you have those two grants that are really geared towards families that have exceptional financial need, and they really are looking into, making this college happen for their child and don't have financial backup or resources or income to do that. So those are geared towards exceptional need families, and those are very good grant programs. Then there will be state grants, like we have a North Carolina tuition grant. That's again a free money. At the last check, it was $900 a semester. But then again, as our politicians change and the budget goes up and down, that amount can change from year to year. So it was $1,800 a year at the last check that we did. And then there are institutional grants, the grant money that the institution has that they can give. This is free money. If you qualified through the EFC and the financial aid formula, there will be grants in your financial aid package that will help you with that, attending that school. The next up is scholarships. So usually there'll be, in scholarships, usually there'll be a component that chooses the student for a scholarship. It could be academic, athletic, leadership, music, theater, you name it. Each college has scholarships that they want to encourage a specific talent. And then usually these are competitive, they can be institutional, they can be national. You can have local civic organizations here around Durham in North Carolina that will help your student, but you have to apply, you find those. Your high school's guidance office is usually the best place to go and find these scholarships, if there are any, because they get, all the information is always sent to the guidance office. So if I have to plug in something else here, as your student goes into high school, the best place to volunteer is the guidance office, because you get to see how they work, you get to know the guidance counselors a bit, and they are so appreciative of your support that when you need that little bit of, oh my gosh, I'm just pulling my hair and I'm not sure what to do with what I have on hand, you have a little bit of more personal interaction with them, okay? And they appreciate you coming in and spending even 1 hour a month. It doesn't have to be every day, every week, no. They want you to come and help support them, because as you know, as our budget gets cut, the counseling position gets cut, everything gets affected. The counseling is the place where they can cut budget because it's not directly a classroom position, right? And so they are running very thin on resources and support. And so any copying you can do for them, anything you can do for them, they are very appreciative. So going back to the scholarships, high school guidance office would be a good place. The university that your son or daughter is applying to would be a good place to ask. When you go for information for admission, it's always good to ask, what about scholarships? Where do I find them? Who do I ask? How do I apply? So taking that role is definitely a good place. The third one is work study. Again, this is based on need. Work study usually ranges about $1,500 a semester, something like that. It's for a student to work on campus in location such as a library or a bookstore, or even sometimes a professor's lab. Okay, so professors will, you have work study. Okay, come on in. I have a graduate student who wants to work. If you want to work with, and here, you're coming in with some work study, and it's usually about 10 to 15 hours a week, and it's generally about the minimum wage salary. But it has other benefits. Work study gives them a chance to go into a place that they otherwise may not, right? They go into either, let's say they go into a library, right? I mean, if you're there and you're shelving books, you find time to even do your own work. If that day there's not much need for shelving, so it's a good thing. And it can give them options to check out different careers or even different places at their college. So work study is also part of the package, all right? How am I doing on time, Jen? All right. Let's see. And then I'm not going to be there. There are these loans that are really, really good loans if they come through financial aid offer, okay? Because you have the Stafford loan, it's called a subsidized Stafford loan, which the federal government pays interest while the student is in school. And after 6 months after graduation is when they have to pay. So there's no interest, it's an interest-free loan for 4 years. Even after 6 months after graduation, you can wait to start paying that loan, and it's given to the student as a subsidized Stafford loan. There is also unsubsidized Stafford loan, which actually accrues interest while the student is in school. So when you get your financial aid package, you must be sure whether it's subsidized, unsubsidized, what effect does that have on knowing when to pay the interest, or what happens to it after the student graduates, okay? The next one up, Perkins loan, is again for exceptionally needy families. Like I explained in my Pell Grant, Perkins loan is not due 9 months after they graduate. There is no interest while they are in school, and the interest is, I believe right now is about 5%. So it accrues only 9 months after they graduate is when the first interest starts to add to that loan, okay? And there are, of course, limits on these loans that every loan has. You can't give more than a certain amount. And also there is a cumulative effect where over 4 years, you can only give so much of each type of loan. But colleges have all these different pots of money which they use to combine and give you the best possible financial aid package that they can create for you. Okay? So I just kind of touched, the other two ones are PLUS loan, That's also available to the parents, but interest accrues from day one. Interest rate is usually high. Okay? And then there are private loans that banks and other credit-bearing institutions may have. Again, those are, the PLUS loan is federally guaranteed, but the private loans from private institutions do not have that benefit. So again, when you have looking at the finances, you have a lot of these options. Okay. Now, we went over how much a college can cost, and we had 4 students here that they were from very different institutions, right? So you have options. You can attend community college for 2 years, live at home, transfer to a 4-year. Fantastic, very, very cost-effective option, and a great option for North Carolina because we have such great institutions here all around that you can transfer to any of them. Attend a 4-year state college or university and live on campus, or live off campus, and then an independent private institution living on campus. Kind of going from the most cost-effective to the most, cost-high option. Okay, so there are options. So I think what the student needs to know is that there are options. For financial reasons, not a single student should say, I'm going to stay away from college, because you can make it happen by all these different options that are available to you. The other one that I want to bring out is federal government last year in 2012 mandated that each institution have a net price calculator, right? The net price calculator is now on every single college's website, okay? What does a net price calculator do? It allows you as a parent or a student to go into that calculator, put in your numbers just as a guest user, and it gives out information about your EFC, what the college might give you. So instead of giving you a sticker price of $20,000, it actually probably gives you the net price of that $12,000 that you, after you plug in your certain financial numbers, you can use that to kind of figure out whether your student or whether you'll be able to support your student going to that institution financially. So it's a very good tool that the federal government has now mandated. And this is, I think I have in the handout, the website is in the handout. So when you have time, you go on that and figure out what kind of institutions you can support your student towards. And this is the NC State's net price calculator. You enter as a guest, they ask you a bunch of questions, and then spit out a number for them too. And that's a great tool. That just came out in 2012. And we are trying to spread the word that it's a very good tool for you to use early on to see how you can figure, okay? So, earlier we are aware of the cost and know what it means, whether you can get prepared to support your student and have some saving plans. So, how do you start? Start saving, apply for financial aid from the college at the appropriate time. Do not delay applying, and then research scholarship opportunities. These are the 3 things that are going to help you keep on track. And then, because we cannot predict with certainty what the future cost of college is going to be, it's going up and up and up, and it's scary. But we cannot predict how it's going to go and what's going to happen. And that's why, saving money is a key, right? But also just saving and then keeping it in the bank, maybe good option, it's not a bad option, but you have certain ways of putting those funds aside, either in a tax savvy manner so that you don't pay on the taxes when you use that money for education. Those are good options. So this slide is in there to say that, put money each month into a fund, whether it's just a savings account or a college fund, whatever it is, put some money aside every month, whether it's $50, $10, whatever it is, put money aside from now. So you have time, because you have almost, depending upon 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, you have 4 years to make that money grow. And then use it even tax-free for education if you have to. Okay? So that's what I'm going to... Alright, so I'm very quickly going to go into what you can do today to support your students so that he or she is well prepared for college experience, right? And I'm going to be very quick with this. There is a lot, but I'm not going to go too much into everything. One of the things, as I said, guidance office, high school guidance office is your place. Get to know your son's or daughter's guidance counselor is, have a relationship, call, and establish those ties, check in throughout the year. Don't wait for a bad grade to happen and then you're going to talk to the counselor. You should have that relationship, or if you at least have said hello, I'm so-and-so's mom or dad and our guardian, and do not wait. It's like going to dig a well when the fire begins. We don't want to do that. We want to set up all those things before, okay? Again, like joint parent organizations at school, become involved in the decision-making process, know what's happening at school, voice your opinions. Also, in the community, public library is a great place to find educational books. They hold presentations like we are having today, where people come and talk about their special areas, and there are a lot of audio, video. There's such wealth of resources in our public libraries, and it does not get used, believe me. They just sit on the shelf with nobody really kind of thinks about that. This is in general. I think I'm going to skip that because I want you to go, let's see, into, okay, if one thing that I want to stress, what you can do now is study skills. Homework, turning in homework, knowing what's happening in school. It's a childhood thing, it needs to be nurtured. It goes a long way when they go to college, because when we are not there to remind them about the homework, turn it in. You need to give them the responsibility to turn that homework in. You can let them make mistakes in middle school. Oh, you didn't turn it in today? Oh my gosh, good, you can turn it in tomorrow. But those mistakes are costly when they go to college. So you need to give them that independence and let them make those mistakes now, so that later they are strong and prepared and they know. We want to do things for them as a parent. We want to step in the, oh, I'll remind you, you need to turn that homework in. We are doing a big disservice to that student because that student is not taking the responsibility to turn that homework in on their own. Okay, so as much as we want to be loving parents, that's where that chance to show tough love and say, okay, well, that we are going to have to learn. Again, in the middle school, what can I tell you? Take courses that are challenging in the middle school. That gives you an opportunity to take higher levels courses in high school, and then maybe get out of some introductory classes in college. So you're just building up right from middle school. Let them, it might be difficult in middle school, but it gets better. All right, so that's the second thing. I'm keep going, okay? So I said that already. So by taking an active interest and becoming involved in the education of their child, parents can form partnership with teachers and other educators. These partnerships will prove productive for the students. So that is one thing you can do, is form those partnerships, right? And that's where we are going to stop. Student success is a result of families' ongoing and direct involvement in their child's education. And it's never too late, or it's never too early to start. Any time is a good time to start. So if you haven't already started, because by being here, I think you're already way ahead of many others, but keep going, and that's my message for you today. Thank you so much.
So as I mentioned earlier, we are going to kind of do an open networking, so feel free to stand up, move around. Dr. Sutfield will be here if you have personalized questions for her or have specific questions about any of her presentations. Our college panelists and high school panelists are back, so if you want to ask them specific questions about what it's like to be a student there or so forth, this is now your time. So feel free to get up and move around, mingle, and meet